Friday is here. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to The Pulse. We're coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. We are on your digital terrestrial TV because we are free to air. You can catch us on DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 144. This is Joy News, independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Coming up this afternoon on The Pulse, we put a spotlight on the National Identification Card. The Ghana card is fast becoming the most sought-after public document, yet acquiring one of these biometric chips could be a daunting task. So why is Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia saying he will choose the Ghana card over 1,000 road interchanges? Stay with us as we explore the essence of the Ghana card here on The Pulse. Also, coming up, some residents of Atewa in the eastern region threatened to block any further mining prospecting in the Atewa Forest Reserve to preserve the biodiversity hub and the critical watershed. We'll hear from the concerned citizens shortly here on The Pulse. And the fate of the embattled Domi Kwabena Member of Parliament, Sarah Adjwasafo, continues as the chairman of the Privileges Committee says her seat will be declared vacant for failing to appear before the Privileges Committee.
Vacate his seat. A member shall vacate his seat. It is in mandatory terms. If you vacate your seat, if these three things happen together.
Stay with us as we bring you more, as the minority is also opposing the chairperson of the committee. It's all coming up here on The Pulse. And all is set for the National Delegates Conference of the New Patriotic Party. Over 6,000 delegates are expected to cast their ballots to choose 10 national executives. Ahead of that crucial internal contest, we hear from the National Elections Committee of the party as they urge delegates to be mindful of party unity.
This whole process that has been conducted in a more professional manner, in a more transparent and level playing field manner, will produce for us leaders who will help steer the affairs of the party for the next.
My name is Blessed Sogah. The Pulse, as always, is brought to you by Global Communities Digni, Low, Affordable, Safe Sanitation. Remember that this afternoon we're streaming live on YouTube and all of our social media handles. It's at JoyNews on TV, Twitter as with the hashtag The Pulse. My personal handle is at Blessed Sogah. Always a pleasure serving you here on The Pulse. Please stay. Welcome. I will choose Ghana card over 1,000 road interchanges. These are the controversial words of Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who is touting the National Identity Card as more beneficial than the numerous infrastructural projects constructed by any successive government. In the last few days, there's been a mad rush for the Ghana card, which government intends to use as a unique identifier for both resident and non-resident Ghanaians, as well as permanent residents or who are foreign nationals. Now, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, at a recent lecture here in Accra, intimated that the biometric chip would eventually be a great asset for national planning and development, and he explains why.
We inherited a problem of no unique national identification system. This has been with us since independence. We have implemented the national identification system of the Ghana card. And we have today 16 million Ghanaians with unique identities. And that is a major transformation. A lot of people sometimes don't even appreciate what the impact of the Ghana card is. But if you gave me 1,000 interchanges and a Ghana card, I'll choose the Ghana card because it has more impact. With the Ghana card, access to student loans today is without the need for a guarantor. You first needed a guarantor to give you a student loan. But with digitalization and the implementation of it, we now can access student loans without the need for a guarantee.
Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bamia there. Even as we speak, the National Identification Authority is seeking to scale up its numbers. So let's bring you a breakdown now. Isaac Ofieje is with our research desk here at JoyNews. Isaac, just help us break the figures down. As we speak now, how many persons have made it successfully onto the database of the National Identification Authority?
We are checking from the National Identification Authority's own website, and it's according to their live statistics. So at the moment, we have about 16.7 million Ghanaians registered on the Ghana card. If you look at the total number of cards printed, it's around 16.3 million. And then also total number of cards issued at the moment is around 13.3 million. So it simply means that out of the 16.7 million Ghanaians who have been registered, only 13.3 million have their cards at the moment. So it simply means that a total of 3.4 cards have not been issued, and then 14.1 million Ghanaians at the moment.
And help us understand that point, the disparities in the figures. When you have 16 million people on the database, what's accounting for the inability, for instance, of the NIA to issue the outstanding cards?
So you remember that there are some people who have issues with maybe their date of birth or their names, and then they have to go for some changes to be done. And then, just looking at the situation at their work at the moment, there are a lot of people who are actually stranded trying to get their cards. But with the NIA saying that they've been able to register a total of 16.7 million, Ghanaians, and then just being able to print, just 16.3 cards, and then just 13.3 million Ghanaians have their cards being issued at the moment, given that deficit. Certainly, it's part of some of the issue, the problem that I talked about. People having issues with their, their names, and then also others having issues with their date of birth and other, personal details. But there are some that they've actually registered, but they've not actually gone for the card. And then they are waiting for probably, some good day to go for the card. But as it stands now, 16.7 million Ghanaians have been registered on the Ghana card, and 13.3 cards have been issued.
Interesting figures there, but give us the dynamics some more in terms of the breakdown as to nationals and foreigners. Let's start off with the total number of Ghanaians we have captured on that database.
So looking at the live statistics, you do not really have that, kind of breakdown, but it certainly shows that, Ghanaians 15 years and above, currently, just like I mentioned, 16.7 million Ghanaians now have their Ghana cards. But to help with, the dissemination and other registration, to fast-track registration, the NIA says that they've actually, have new outlets in districts. So if you look at the Greater Accra, for instance, there are about 35, district offices that you can go there and then also, interact with the officers for your Ghana card. If you look at Volta region, we have 19 offices, and OT region has 10 at the moment, and then Northeast has 7. Northern region has 19 offices at the moment. Savannah region has 8. And then also if you go to the Afro region, we have 7 offices available, and Bono region 13. We have Bono East also having 12, and then Upper East and Upper West respectively having 16 and 12. Ashanti region being the highest with about 48 offices currently to help fast track the whole process and the registration.
And Kofi, I'm still curious about this, the fact that we still have long queues at registration centers all across the country. Is it the case that the NIA is far away from reaching its targets?
So at the moment, despite the fact that the NIA has all these district outlets, it seems like in Greater Accra, the whole situation has been centralized at the WAC Sports Stadium. So you have, about 14, because currently Ghana is around 30.8 million. And if you have 16.7 million having Ghana card, it certainly means that a little over 14 million Ghanaians do not have their Ghana cards at the moment. And most of these people are actually, probably distributed in the Ashanti region and then in the Greater Accra region. So for instance, in the Greater Accra region, where the whole distribution process and registration has now been centralized. We have most of it going on at Atewa Sports Stadium. You have, a chunk of people trooping in, and then this actually affecting the whole registration process. And it will actually create, queues because, just having people just have people going into that space to have 14.1 million people, and then most of them who are in Accra going into just Atewa Sports Stadium to get their cards. Because it's not just registration. People have issues with identification, just like I said, their personal details, their date of birth, their names, and other things.
That may be accounting for what we're experiencing at the registration centres. Isaac Ofieje with our research desk there. Well, JoyNews has been engaging some individuals at various registration centres. Many of them are appealing to the National Identification Authority to expand access in a bid to ease congestion at the various registration points.
That's what I was telling you, that we've been here for a week. Some have been here since 2019. Some have not even received their card. Then you are telling us that you are ending the process today. It doesn't make sense. So today, by all means, everybody will not be able to do it right now. Some will be able to do it tomorrow. Some will be able to do it maybe next week. Because I've been here for a week. So if I've been here for a week and someone just came today, at least the person will be finished next week. So if you end it today, what am I going to use to access my account? Then when you come across, you won't get the card today. You get it 2 weeks time. So are they telling us that they're going to block our account for that 2 weeks? When you get the card, they will reopen it for you, Anna. That's the question they have to come and answer. The MTN people and those banks. So that's our problem.
So will you be willing to call for an extension of the deadline?
Yes, there should be an extension, at least at the close of the year. There should be an extension, because it doesn't. What they are doing is unfair. You see, my father said he has been here since 2019. He hasn't received the card. So what's pressuring them to end the process? That's the question. What's pressuring them? At least they should make it that at the end of the year.
But why do you delay till now to fix
me?
This?
I lost my, when I did it, I lost my, then I went to the police station for an extract. So we've been here back and forth. When you go to the head office, they will say come to Atewa. When you come to Atewa, they will say head office. So it's those complications. That's why we are still here.
Yes.
You also have similar challenge.
Yes. Even my challenge, the fault is not coming from me. It is from the NIA itself. And I was among the first people who did it in 2019. When my card came, I was told, during the verification, that my data was not put on the card. So they are returning the card to the head office. I have been going there several times. From last week, I've been going there. I went there yesterday. They couldn't get the endorsement for me. I was there today again. So they were able to finish up for me today, even just the endorsement, for me to come and pay the money. Meanwhile, I've not misplaced my card. Now you are asking me to pay money. I did it in 2019. You couldn't do it for me. Now you are asking me to pay money before getting my card. I think it's not unfair. It's not fair. And we have a lot of people now. When you get to the head office now, confusion here and there. You go there, they ask you to come to Atewa. Look at the number of people here now. And they are now giving us a deadline. So is it from us?
But the notification for the deadline was given long ago.
Yes.
Why did you wait till now?
And we've not waited. I've been pushing for my card, and they are not able to do it for me. Even last time I was there, for almost 3 weeks ago, I was there, and they have to tell me that they are, turning it out as a missing card. So they will be able to print it out for me. I went there again, they were not able to do it. Now they are asking me to come and if I need it first, then I have to pay money before I get it. So here I am now. They've given me the approval, so I'm coming to pay money before getting my card.
Well, so given these challenges, is the Vice President justified in saying that the national identification card is worth more than any other infrastructural project? Joining me now for a discussion on this is Dr. William Ahaji, former Executive Secretary of the National Identification Authority. Thank you so much, sir, for making some time for us. So you've had the Vice President on the issue of the Ghana card. He touts that and places the Ghana card above any other infrastructural project. Is he justified in making these assertions? Dr. Haji, if you can unmute for me. I'm just asking what you think about the Vice President's latest comments. We're trying as much as possible to rework the line. So Dr. William Haji, but on your screens now, some of the registration centers, 16 million people on the database of the National Identification Authority. However, it appears that some 13 million persons are the only fraction that have the Ghana card. Dr. William Haji is back with us. Doc, thank you for your time. I was just asking about the Vice President's comment and what you make of his belief that one Ghana card is worth more than 1,000 interchanges.
Well, I would not want to talk about the comparison of spending public money on one and leaving the other out. I mean, the interchanges are equally important, but the Ghana card is on top of that. I mean, I agree with him that it's a very important card, but it's not particularly the Ghana card. It's actually the ID system, an ID system which is supposed to be established by government. And by that, we are looking at ID infrastructure that will allow for identity check, identity authentication in real time. It's important because an ID system cuts down or cuts back on identity fraud. It's useful for several services: education, health, pensions, access to certain services. You can even use that as an interface to access resources, and it is equally important for reducing the extensive debt, that banks suffer from people refusing to pay as well. The bad debt portfolio can be reduced by using an ID system, and you can actually use that for e-transactions as well.
But you've been at the NIA before, looking at the roadmap at the time we were exiting office. Would you say that this current regime has exceeded the targets that were set in place?
No, unfortunately, the regime probably stopped a process that should have given us more mileage on the work that we left behind. One was the fact that they decommissioned the old ID cards that we issued instead of distributing them and then upgrading the system to allow for replacement over a longer period. And that is one major problem that has slowed the process. And as the videos showed, many of the people who have applied for their cards haven't got them. Yet, we can say that if you were using a 2D barcode in today's world, it is obsolete. There are several ID systems that are still run on 2D barcode. In any case, those were issued so they could run for 10 years. And so the easiest thing you could have done was to just issue the cards that were installed, and then slowly you upgrade the system, and then you allow people, you phase in the chip encoded or chip embedded card. As we can see now, you have an ID card with a chip embedded on it, but you don't interface the chip with any system. The appropriate technology has not been put in place for interoperability, for instance, where you can go, your data, your health data, or your financial data can be uploaded on the card. So you're holding a card with a chip, a 64 gig chip on it, and the chip is useless.
Right, but then the concern of many Ghanaians out there is about access to the centers. What's accounting for the gridlock at the various registration centers, in your view?
I think that the pressure that the NIA is suffering is the requirement by some state institutions, and indeed that particularly the Ministry of Communications, that SIM cards will have to be re-registered by a certain deadline. And also the banking system insisting that you must register or improve your records with the Ghana card. It is important, but the pressure is the reason why the NIA is struggling. Now, the other side of it is we were supposed to do mass registration to create a database, and beyond that, begin continuous registration. So NIA should have been given sufficient time to complete this process of populating the server with people who have come under the mass registration, and then deal with those who haven't had the opportunity by establishing offices across the country, walk-in offices, so that people can go there at their leisure time and register. Or at least even if there's pressure, people should have been given, Ghanaians should have been given about a year to ensure that they have registered with the NIA and they've got their card. They are also constrained by sufficient resources to even acquire blank cards. From the information I have, sometimes they run out of blank cards, and therefore when you apply, they will register you all right, but they can't personalize the cards, so there are no cards available. So there are challenges, and they need to ensure that these things are overcome. But the pressure has to be taken off NIA with this the deadline for SIM card re-registration.
Right, and so for you, where lies the solution? Is the solution in the issue of expansion of the various registration points, or we need to relook and reconsider the approach?
No, definitely we need to create the offices across the country, the working offices, so that the pressure will be off. Secondly, we need to provide additional resources for recruitment. It's just like any public service institution with branches and departments outside the central point. Now, to go and ask that large number of people to go only a work stadium to register is imposing, first of all, pressure on yourself, but also giving the registrable population difficulties in getting their cards issued to them so they can fulfill the conditions that are being imposed on them by state institutions as well. What I see and what I said before is that there's lack of interagency collaboration. The Ministry of Communication had imposed this thing on the telcos for it to be done without checking with NIA whether they are ready or not. Unless that they sit around the table and clear these things, these difficulties will come. And you are going sorry.
Yeah, and aside the issue you're just pointing out, there's the aspect of data reconciliation, what you started and what's being carried out now. Is that likely to trigger a breach in the integrity of the system and the database of the National Identification Authority?
Very much so. You know, an ID system is a very sensitive business. That's where we store your biometric information, and your biometric information is very, very important. Because there's identity theft, somebody can actually copy your print and then conduct business on your behalf. So it is one area where you have to protect, and indeed the levels of encryption, the levels of coding that you have to do to protect personal data is very strict. And there are international standards that you have to follow if you want to use your ID system for a lot of transactions across the world, but essentially in your own country. Now, what we did, we left the server with data in it, biometric data in it. Then you create a separate server where you port the data from the main server that is there into another. That in itself is a risk, but it's a risk. Now, the other side of it is that if you look at those who got the previous Ghana card, indeed the Ghana card, and compare their PIN numbers with the ECOWAS card, which is now being referred to as the Ghana card, you find that there is very little difference, which means that they had to leverage what was left in the server to create this new system. It was most unnecessary, but it's been done. In any case, they also indicated that they were going to do real-time instant card issuance from the beginning. We contested that and said that the technology hasn't reached the point where you can do real-time data check before you issue the card at the terminal where you are. And so go back to the same system that was being used, which means that you have to print the card and go out and distribute. We did a number of interesting things. We even created mobile card issuance systems by configuring buses so they can drive out there and go and issue the card. All of those things were set up. So they didn't allow for transition from the system to the new system. Indeed, at some point, they even decommissioned the printers. But my understanding is that they got new printers, so that's fine. But if you don't do continuous work, you run into this kind of trouble. Means that you're starting it completely new. I dispute the argument that the 3D barcode cards were obsolete. It can never be obsolete. If you look at some of the bank cards now that you have, they still use 3D cards, 3D barcodes. You know, so NI has to rethink its approach to delivering the service that the state expects them to deliver.
Anyway, we'll see if that will be done in the coming days. But Dr. William Ahaji, I'm grateful that you've been able to join us this afternoon here on The Pulse. Meanwhile, JoyNews is learning that the Electoral Commission will now demand the Ghana card as proof of registration for voter identification. Now, the new regulation is reportedly contained in a new constitutional instrument which will allow the Electoral Commission carry out continuous registration exercises. General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, is, however, cautioning and warning that no citizen must be prevented from acquiring the Ghana card. He says the NIA must endeavor to play its role effectively before the full takeoff of the EC's proposal.
This law they want to pass. They brought us the draft.
What were you told?
And then, they brought us the draft. And when you take the draft and you compare it with the final product they sent to Parliament, there is no change. Even the comma hasn't changed. So if they are talking about the consensus they built by political parties, so when the political parties went there, what did they discuss?
So will you resist the use of the Ghana card as a party?
Well, you said there is not enough time. Ghana card or citizens ID card for, identification for whatever purposes, it's a good thing. But it must be available to everybody. So why we are against it is that it's not the fact that we are going to rely on Ghana card, because eventually that is where all of us are going to go. But when it is work in progress, some have gotten, some have not gotten, and you say that the work in progress is what you are going to use, it means that Electoral Commission is working against its own obligations as imposed on them in the 1992 Constitution, because one of their key obligations is to expand voter registration. So if you are deliberately going to adopt a policy that will rather resist voter registration, then you are working against the Constitution. And again, so we can't fault them for doing that. But the pressure must be on the NIA.
Right.
They are not doing their work well. They have obligation to ensure that every citizen has the national ID card so that it can be used for whatever purpose. So that is where the pressure.
Well, so let's stay on the General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, who says that the NPP administration has lost credibility for blaming the John Mahama administration for Ghana's economic woes. Reacting to the recent claims by the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, that partly the NDC is to blame for economic woes, Johnson Asiedu Nketia indicated that the Vice President, together with the economic management team, ought to resign by now for not fulfilling their promise to Ghanaians.
John Mahama didn't come back in 2020 or 2019 to do anything. You understand? So if after 6 years in office, you are still blaming predecessors, it means that you have no clue as to why you went into the elections to become a leader in the first place.
Were you expecting an apology from the Vice President to start off with?
Well, the person doesn't want to even admit where he's wrong. So you can't even proceed to be talking about apologies. You just leave him like a donkey who is crying that grass is blue. Because every Ghanaian knows that, he has lost credibility. And if we were in a well-functioning democracy, people like that should be leaving their offices.
You feel the Vice President should be resigning by now?
Because the things he has said, you know, politics or democracy is about trust in our leadership. So if you are running a system where you cannot even trust your leaders, they say this today, tomorrow they say a different thing. Then how are we expected to trust in the solutions that they are prescribing?
The feeling of some is
because
it's
you
usual
need
of
to
politicians,
accept. You need to accept the diagnosis, the causes of a disease before you take the medication. But if the person is talking about causes which are not actually the causes, it means that he will be prescribing the wrong medication for you. So that is why we have been saying that, look, the very set of economic managers who brought us into this mess cannot be relied upon to take us out of the mess. So before any IMF program or whatever can be swallowed by Ghanaians with all its hardship, Ghanaians must know that we have a new set of people whose word they can trust.
And you go to the extent of asking the vice president to resign. Some say this is usual of any other politician. You promise, and you fail. This is just one of such
when
cases.
you say something is black and it turns out to be white too many times, you have lost credibility, and you help yourself by resigning from the economic management team. He shouldn't be there at all. You understand? So because we are in a certain mess, and we have been told that we are bringing the IMF to help us to implement certain austerity measures that will take us out of the mess. This austerity will involve hardship and others. So you need leaders who will be able to convince the population that, look, these are the right set of measures that will take us out of where we are. And those leaders must be trustworthy. The people must have trust in them. So if you are dealing with leaders in whom the people have lost trust, the people will not accept it. And that is why you are seeing the turbulence you are seeing in the economy now, the labor front and the other thing, because the simple fact is that they can no longer trust in the word of government.
So staying with us here on The Pulse. When we return, we'll cross over to Parliament, where a lot is happening. The fate of the Dom Kwabena MP, Sarah Joseph, hangs in the balance. We'll tell you why the Privileges Committee is bent on declaring her seat vacant. It's all coming up here on The Pulse. Please stay. And you're welcome back. Some residents of Atewa in the eastern region have threatened to stop any mining prospecting in the Atewa Forest Reserve to preserve the biodiversity hub and the critical watershed. This follows the publication on the website of the Minerals Commission as of yesterday, July 13, confirming the granting of a license to a mining company to do prospecting in the Forest Reserve. The license status, as we understand, which was published yesterday on the website of the Minerals Commission, is set to expire on February 2025. But the status has strangely been reviewed to expire today. That notwithstanding, the concerned citizens of Atewa are urging the Minerals Commission not to issue any fresh prospecting licenses for the Atewa Forest. Joining me now via phone is Otenyeje, who is the convener of the concerned citizens of Atewa landscape. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. So have you confirmed, first of all, the true status of this so-called mining company that you're referring to? Otenyeje, if you can hear me, I'm just asking whether or not your group has been able to confirm the identity or the status of this company that we're referring to. So we'll try and reconnect with Otenyeje, who's the convener for the concerned citizens of Atewa landscape. They are urging the Minerals Commission not to issue any fresh prospecting licenses in the Atewa Forest Reserve. Let's see if we have Otenyeje back on the lines. Otenyeje, I was just asking about the status of this company that we understand the Minerals Commission had earlier given some prospecting licenses too. It was scheduled to expire in 2025, but that has been reviewed by the Commission. What more do you know about the status of that prospecting license?
Okay, thank you. That company has been on the scene for some time because during the Atewa era, it was on the scene for prospecting for 50 months, and it went back. The whole thing fizzled out. And so we were even taken aback when we saw that publication on their website that they have gone back to give that same company the permit to do prospecting on the increase.
Why are you then on the neck of the Minerals Commission? At least that has been reviewed in terms of the status of the company. It's no longer expiring in 2025. So that's to say that the Atewa Forest Reserve is in safe hands now. Why are you still concerned?
You see, the Minerals Commission has eaten humble pie. The backlight that was to follow, they couldn't stand it. That is why they quickly went back on their website to say that the thing expired today or yesterday. It isn't the truth. They meant everything, every word of the act, they meant it. And I've been describing the Minerals Commission as the canker. It's in the conspiracy to destroy the forest reserve. Look at hidden mining. They haven't been able to control mining. Would they have had gallant stop and stop it? No. But they didn't do it. Let alone deep mining in this.
Yes. So I get the point you're making, but then you agree that looking at how, well, on that fast, drive and demand for development, you do agree that a portion of the Atewa landscape by now should be used for mining so we can rake in some revenue. How about that proposition?
We are not against development. We are never against development. But development must be in the right direction. Because you cannot tell me that I'm suffering from tuberculosis, and when you cure my tuberculosis, you give me headache, the perpetual headache. No. That must not be the case. We want development, but the Atewa must be reserved for you see, the revenue that they want to get out of the mining. If we turn it into an eco-tourism attraction, we will get it in quadruples, and it will be until eternity. Besides, the Atewa, it's a heritage site. And according to the regulations, the rules of forest, it is not a productive area. And so initially, the Mineral Commission ought not have given GIADEC the permit to do the initial exploration that we are contending in the court. They didn't have to do that, but they did it.
So for now, what more are we to see as part of the pressure, the campaign that you've been mounting for quite some time now against the mining in the Atewa Forest Reserve? Is it the case that you're seeking to, petition the president once more on this, or what else are we to see from your outfit?
In fact, we have had a lot of petitions, and the government kept quiet. We even embarked on a 95-kilometer walk from the demand to the Jubilee House, presenting our petition. The government gave us to the then Professor Perform Watching to dialogue with. And when we sat down with Perform Watching, he said he knows everything about it. But it looks as if it's a big hand up there. Even when we presented a petition to the late John, he said, "Oh, I'm with you." But barely 48 hours, he came back and said, "No." That is the normal and the always saying that order from above is excellent.
And finally, I'm sure that you have some of your volunteers still monitoring the situation within this forest reserve. What would you say is the status of the Atewa landscape as we speak?
As it stands now, apart from what they did as a way of exploration, nothing is going on. It's only that encroachers are in the field there. It's not long ago when we had a press conference where we even charged the Forestry Commission that it's their negligence that is leading to the death of the forest reserve. But that encroachment on individual buildings, they are not using the excavation, it is only the pickaxe and the shovel, but they are causing mass destruction to the forest reserve. We are still on it. We have our men on the ground. We parade it every day. Because all the 54 communities that is living on the fringes, we ended a tour of sensitization not a month ago. All the 54 communities. my associates for the entire landscape, bringing them to see as to what is happening. Unfortunately, we are going to court on Wednesday, and our legal team is also assessing the to see where we have to apply any law or rely on any law to sustain the point there.
So you're in court on Wednesday.
On Wednesday,
yeah, you're seeking to stop any further prospecting or mining within the Atewa landscape?
No, the initial bauxite mining, we are contending it in the court to stop them from doing it. And then all of us out of the blue, this new order to came. And so we will combine all these things. We have referred the issues to our legal team. And you know when an issue is before court, but be very careful when you are discussing.
Anyway, we'll see and then monitor what will happen in court. So J, I'm grateful, is convener for the concerned citizens of Atewa landscape. Now, let's take you to Parliament. Chairperson of the Privileges Committee, Joseph Osei-Owusu, says it's a constitutional imperative for the seat of Dom Kwabena MP Sarah Adwoa to be declared vacant once she failed to appear before the Privileges Committee. Speaking exclusively to JoyNews, the Bekwai MP, who is also the first Deputy Speaker, explained that the vacancy is automatic once the MP, of course, upon several opportunities afforded to her, failed to appear before the Privileges Committee to explain why she was absent for more than 15 consecutive sittings.
Cut the 97.3. All the matters in which a member shall vacate, it's automatic. Parliament is dissolved automatically. Your person is elected speaker, it's automatical. If you're absent for 15 days, it's automatic. If you're expelled, in that case, a process I've gone through, you've gone through a process, gotten to the end. So if any circumstances arise in which you're disqualified, it's automatic. So I think that in many respects, or in all respects, and the words of the Constitution are clear. A member shall vacate his seat. A member shall vacate his seat. It is in mandatory terms. If you vacate your seat, if these three things happen together, absent for 15 days or more, without permission from Mr. Speaker, and no reasonable explanation. So once these three things happen, automatically you shall vacate your seat. That is the law. It's not the chairman of the committee saying so. It is not for the committee to say so. It is what the Constitution says. And same has been affirmed in the decision of Kwakwasare and Attorney.
And already, we understand that the minority in Parliament is fighting this off. Joining me now in the studio, this Kweku Asante, our parliamentary correspondent, monitoring the events for us. Kweku, quite a hectic time for the Privileges Committee. It's not usual, isn't it, when the Speaker refers a matter to this committee? Most often, you see them having a unified front. Where lies the division at this point?
Indeed, it's been a long time since a referral was made to the Privileges Committee bordering on absentee MPs. So the sticking point now is Sarah Adwoa. The committee do not agree on what to do with Honorable Kennedy Japan and Honorable Henry Cote. But by majority decision, the committee has voted that those two MPs be pardoned because the explanation they offered on why they were not present for 15 consecutive sittings, according to the majority members of the committee, is reasonable. So when they present a committee, they'll be asking them to pardon them. But on Sarah Adwoa, yesterday, we know ABF Husseini had held a press conference. He's a member of the Privileges Committee and said that the MP was not offered hearing. So how can the committee go ahead and make judgment on her? The committee chairman, Joseph Osei-Owusu, I've been speaking to him, has been explaining that the reason why Sarah Adwoa must vacate her seat is because they afforded her several opportunities to explain why she should not lose her seat. She did not make any of it. You can listen.
It is the responsibility, the onus is on the honorable member to offer an explanation. The words of the Constitution are clear. If you're absent for 15 sittings, you did not seek permission from Mr. Speaker to be absent. then you should vacate your seat unless you give an explanation to the Committee on Privileges to their satisfaction that your explanation is reasonable. So first is that the responsibility is on the honorable member who has been absent for 15 days without permission from Mr. Speaker. In the case of the 3 members of Parliament, if the Speaker looked through the record and determined that these people have been absent for 15 days or more, and then they did not seek permission from me, so those 2 facts have been established before Mr. Speaker referred them to the committee. So the only thing left was for them to come and offer any explanation to the committee. Honorable Sir Ajasafo failed to appear or refused to appear, and he refused to use all the facilities available. We set up a Zoom meeting and we sent through the notices that if she chooses to speak to us by Zoom, this is the link. We used all the rules which, the procedure which Parliament says we should use to reach her. We went beyond that procedure and advertised at places where we know she's active at, on social media, on Parliament handle on social media. We published in the newspapers. So whatever effort Parliament ought to make to offer her the facility to explain herself if she has any explanation has been done. You can't force, even if you force a horse to the river, you can't force her to drink. It is her choice whether to discharge that responsibility placed on her to offer a reasonable explanation or not. If she chooses not to offer any explanation, the law should apply.
The first Deputy Speaker, what's the side of the minority? We understand that they disagree with Joyce on this.
They disagree completely. What they are saying is that you cannot be sure that the MP received the summons. We know that the committee used the MP's contacts that is available to Parliament, her email addresses, her phone numbers. They use all of that to try and reach her. They've still not been able to do so. You know, you conducted an interview with Sarah Joasafo on this platform.
Right.
The committee's report that a source has shown me, the draft report that will be laid before Parliament next week, references that JoyNews interviewed Sarah Joasafo to say that we tried to use the same person that connected Sarah Joasafo to JoyNews for an interview to be conducted.
And you're sure that this is contained in the draft?
This is the draft report that I've seen that the members are looking at before it is laid before Parliament next week.
How did the committee arrive at that, particularly when we have no official documentation as of now that the Privileges Committee wrote to Multimedia or any other assign of the company requesting for the official source, which we are not even entreated by law to disclose necessarily? How are they sure, certain, even about that source in the first place?
That I cannot be sure about for now. But the committee has a wide array of influence, has sources that they've been able to try and speak with, to try and get some facts to help them in their work. What we understand is that the committee, in doing its work, the chairman, for instance, the clerk, the administrative part of the committee, try to find out the MP has not been responding to the summons that we've been making to her via her usual communication channels. But she spoke to a media house in Accra via video conference. So the committee tried to find out how did she end up on our platform, and can we use that same platform to reach her? Because the committee said if Sarah Joasafo can't come into the country and do a face-to-face sit down with the committee members, like Honorable Henry Kote, Honorable Kennedy Japan have done,
right,
then they wanted to offer an opportunity via video conference. So they sent her the Zoom link.
Yeah.
They actually referenced her social media active
Accounts,
presence,
right,
and recently posted a video about herself and her child and all that. The committee said we've been trying to reach her. We've been trying to use all mediums available to get her.
It's not working.
Gotten her. So yeah.
Yeah, but then the minority says we're still not giving her a fair hearing.
This is not the decision we have taken as a committee,
right,
and that the chairman of the committee is on his own. We also know that the minority are expecting a showdown in the House. I've been asking Joseph Osewusu, are they ready for a showdown? Are they ready for a fight when it comes to it? Not a fight as in fist, but we know, given the posture of the minority now, they are ready and willing to go all extent to say that Sarah Joa Safo's seat should not be declared vacant because you have not heard from her. The first deputy speaker, also the chairman of the committee, says he does not want to see it come to that, and that his side are going to use the legal argument to argue, to make the point that Sarah Joa Safo's seat should be declared vacant. We can listen.
I don't see where fights come in.
For showdown.
They are factual matters. Once these three facts occur, the law applies. If there should be a fight, the fight should be on whether those facts have occurred. Once those three facts occur, whether or not you are absent is recorded, and is a record of Parliament which has been affirmed by the House day by day. The persons are given opportunity to even challenge that record at the Privileges Committee. And then the fact that they were absent without permission is also recorded. The persons are given the opportunity to respond to whether they may have been a misreportage or something. If you don't have any response to those two, then the third one is your explanation. If the explanation comes and the committee is satisfied that this is a reasonable explanation, then the matter ends there. If the committee says no, we'd heard your explanation, we don't think it's a reasonable one, the matter ends there. If you do not offer any explanation at all, it's also the same thing as saying there's no explanation, a reasonable one, so the matter ends there. Then the first A97 one comes, you shall vacate your seat.
Okay, so that's where we are now. And do we know when this report will be laid on the floor?
It was expected that the committee report will be laid today, but the report has not been able to go down with all members for them to make their inputs. So on Tuesday, the committee report is expected to be laid. The other argument that is expected to come is whether or not the report of the Privileges Committee is final or not. The first deputy speaker, the chairman of the committee, argues when they put their report before Parliament, that is it. Parliament do not have to take another decision on it. Obviously, the minority disagree. Indeed, on the day the speaker made the referral, it was one of the arguments, the back and forth argument between both sides. And so that is the second leg of the fight.
How is this different from how is the Privileges Committee different from the other committees? Because I'm asking that question because at the committee level, once there's a dissent by any member of the committee, it will be put before plenary, right?
Indeed.
But why are we not experiencing that
actually been
in this case?
The argument the minority have been making that committees are committees of Parliament. They don't work for themselves. They work for the whole House. So it's like the House has delegated a bit of its responsibility to you to work on it for us. You bring it back to us for us all to take a decision. The majority side, the majority leader himself, Oseche Mensah-Bonsu, first deputy speaker, obviously do not agree with that. They say that if you look at the wording of the Constitution, it says your seat will be declared vacant if you are unable to provide explanation to the committees on privileges. The Constitution does not go on to say anything like it should come back to the House for a report. So they believe once you are able to offer a reasonable explanation and the committee thinks you should be pardoned, that's it, it ends there. Once you are unable to offer explanation, either because you didn't show up or explanation wasn't reasonable to the committee, then the committee can take consequent decisions. And so he actually says he expects that when a report is laid in Parliament officially, that will mean that the Parliament has informed them about this decision. Then the clerk of Parliament would have to act. So we can listen where Joe Wise talks about their decision being final decision.
I'm only working on what the Constitution says. The Constitution does not give a decision to Parliament, to the best of my knowledge. And indeed, my my view, is affirmed in the decision by the Kokwasari case given by the Court of Appeal. So there's a judicial pronouncement on the particular constitutional provision. I think it's a settled case that when the matter is referred to the Privileges Committee, the Privileges Committee reports to the House that the person has appeared or has not appeared. He has offered an explanation which the committee finds reasonable. That should end the matter, in my view. And indeed, it is in accord with what the judicial pronouncement is.
So would the clerk have to wait for the report to be laid before he can act?
Oh, yes, because until the information is given to the House, the process has not concluded. It's still at the committee, so the information will go to the House so that there will be official record that the committee finds this explanation not reasonable, or that there was no explanation and therefore the law kicks in.
Quick, what are we to expect in the coming days?
So it's expected to be a showdown. Both sides are expected to make their viewpoints very forceful in terms of why exactly Sarah Joa Safo's seat should be declared vacant or not. A lot of people are frozen at this point. They are confused as to why the NDC, which will probably stand to gain if Sarah Joa Safo's seat is declared vacant, is defending Sarah Joa Safo when her own party thinks that her seat should be declared vacant. So in the coming days, it will be interesting to see whether or not the seat will be declared vacant, whether the clerk will inform the Electoral Commission that there's a vacant seat in Parliament for a by-election to happen. And if there's a by-election, does the NDC think they stand a chance to win, to make them a majority in the House? These will be interesting questions that will be answered in the coming weeks. Blessed.
All right then, quick question to our parliamentary correspondent there. Don't forget that all of the action is set for this weekend as the New Patriotic Party goes into that crucial internal context to elect its national executives. From the party, it's ready and set to roll. I've been at the Accra Sports Stadium to gauge the mood ahead of the National Delegates Conference. This is the Accra Sports Stadium. It's playing host to over 6,000 delegates of the New Patriotic Party who converge here in less than 24 hours for that crucial reorganization exercise. It's the National Delegates Conference of the New Patriotic Party, and JoyNews is here ahead of that special exercise to gauge the mood as some candidates battle it out for 10 slots, national slots that will be up for contest in the next 24 hours. In fact, as you can see around me, there's a lot of activities happening, and quite a number of party officials are already arriving ahead of that exercise. But there's a need for us to hear from the party to check out what exactly it is that the party has to install ahead of that very crucial exercise. Let's speak to the communications director of the governing New Patriotic Party, lawyer Boabeng Asamoah, who will help us understand the preparations ahead of that exercise. Good afternoon to you, Council. You're live on JoyNews.
Good afternoon, sir.
So, would you say that the party is ready for the exercise come tomorrow?
Absolutely, absolutely. You can see that the place is already coming alive. At the moment, we are not expecting delegates within the presence of the venue, but a lot of them are coming. It's almost like a tourist site. They are coming to see the preparations. On field, everything is ongoing, and behind the scenes, other structures are in place. So we are ready.
Over 6,000 delegates, as we understand, will be participating in this exercise. Would you say that you've put in place the adequate measures to contain any eventualities that may happen? It's not as though we're expecting it, that something bad will happen at the conference, but would you say that you've put in place good structures for the organization of this exercise?
By the grace of God, first we need to transport delegates. That's happening already. A setup is structured, is happening. We need to house them, board and lodging. That is also happening. And tomorrow we'll need to manage access to the venue, and that's within the jurisdiction of the security services. They are ready and organized. Access will be by accreditation, and anybody who is supposed to have accreditation will have accreditation. Without accreditation, you can't enter the precincts. Once we are in here, as long as you are in here with accreditation, you know your job. Those who are going to vote know that they are here to vote. Those who are going to be voted for know that they are here to be voted for. So everybody will operate and conduct themselves within the area that they came for. So we don't expect anything to go wrong. Absolutely not.
Even before we get into that exercise, we've seen quite a heavy campaign exercise by almost all of the candidates. You agree? What is accounting for this mad rush, if I could use that word, for the party positions, the executive positions within the NPP this time round?
I think the NPP remains the most attractive political organization in Ghana's political landscape at the moment. You will realize that we have tradition, and our principles, our concepts, our policies are those that favor Ghanaian families. They are those that protect Ghanaian families. So more or less, once it's MPP, people have the feeling that if you want to serve your nation, then you best serve the nation through the MPP by sacrificing to support the MPP and get on board. As we speak, from a high of 52 persons who expressed interest by purchasing forms, we now have 46 who are firm and running on the day for 10 positions.
That's still a lot, you agree?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's this enthusiasm to be part of the process. And it's not just at the top. Right from the bottom, when we started the polling stations, you realize there was agitation to get involved. People wanted forms and all that. And throughout, from polling station to coordinator level to constituency level to regional level, the regional elections were very exciting. There were surprises. There were people who had all sorts of permutations. And now we are at national level. And this party that we are going to renew here will have the duty of supporting the government to guide us through a process that will make us more credible for 2024. Because as you are aware, there are events now that are very politically challenging. And not just challenging, but in the context of governance, you need to restore a certain relationship with the people of Ghana. And the MPP is ready to do that. We believe Ghanaians expect more. And we believe Ghanaians believe that we are the ones who can deliver what they expect.
But you do agree that if you do not take care and handle or manage this exercise well, by laying the ground rules which will enhance your unity afterwards, you may lose that united front going into the 2024 election.
Political unity is always under threat, if I may say so, depending on the dynamics of every time that you're in. But this has been a very carefully structured conference, right from the beginning. And the rules are all designed to ensure that we have a level playing field as well as internalize the competition. If we over-externalize the competition, then you create an impression that there is something more than necessary going on. But we managed to calm everything down so that contestants feel and believe and accept that they are engaging the people directly, the people who vote for them, rather than trying to appeal to everybody in Ghana. And I think it has worked. We have ensured that there is very little advertising beyond the Electoral College. We've ensured that candidates conduct themselves within a certain frame, and we've established these principles on the basis that we want to elevate our party towards a point where we will demonstrate a distinction between party activities and national campaign activities. And I think it's working.
What will be your message to delegates who will be going to cast their ballots tomorrow?
They've been engaged by the candidates, 46 even so far. And I think even before these candidates set out, delegates knew the kind of persons that they believed would be able to support them, to support the government, to lead the people of Ghana towards more welfare. And so, within the principles the MPP believes in, the commitments we have to each other, I think delegates will select the right people who will lead this party to victory in 2024.
I'm grateful, Council. And that's the Director of Communications for the New Patriotic Party, lawyer Yao Boabing SMR. We're still here at the Accra Sports Stadium, and for those of you who want to get a feel of what's really happening here, in fact, security is beginning to take a number of proactive measures so as to prevent any breach here. You can also see around some dignitaries and executives of the New Patriotic Party arriving in your shots, and we'll be catching up with some of them just to try as much as possible to engage them. Let's speak to the Director of Elections for the New Patriotic Party, Lawyer Evans Nimako, who is also here exercise tomorrow, sir.
I think for now, as a party, we are set for the conduct of our national annual delegate conference. We having all our constituency executives here in town. We bringing together our regional executive committee, our external branch members are all here. Our council of elders and patrons are here, and so we are hoping to have a very successful conference tomorrow. I think we are set to go. Arrangements are far advanced. Discussions with the EC concluded yesterday with the taking over of registers. Candidates have been given registers as well, and so we are set to go.
Party unity, I believe, is what you're on the lookout for. Would you say that you're putting in place measures to ensure that?
The New Patriotic Party thrives on internal competition. It's always been competitive, it's always been elective, and so we are ready, and we've had always structures that deals with our internal mechanisms to ensure that we have a united force to approach every elections we go into. Yes, so we will go through the elections, whatever the outcome, party leadership will sit and engage stakeholders. We are poised to win elections 2024, and so what we are seeing today and tomorrow is the elections of the national officers that will cap the internal elections we began somewhere in January. You know, we did our polling station, we did our electoral area, we've done constituency, we've done our regional elections. And so the national officers are going to be responsible for managing the party for the next 4 years, within which we will go into a major election, presidential and parliamentary. And I can assure you, the New Patriotic Party will emerge victorious in elections 2024.
Just ahead of the exercise, you gave a directive indicating that all billboards be pulled down. What accounted for that decision, and would you say that you've explained that to all candidates, and for some who felt disadvantaged by the directive that you gave?
I think our engagement with candidates, we arrived at this point when the National Council directed that it is important to organize a conference that will respect the rules of the conduct of elections in the country. And you bear me out, on Elections Day, December 7, 2020, you didn't see colors of political parties. You didn't see party supporters in the paraphernalia of their respective parties. And so it's the same we're doing. But we brought it to the attention of candidates, the reason behind the fact that we need to organize a conference that reflects the mood and the nature of the party. And so, I mean, this is the delegate elections. They are known, and if you put in up posters, billboards across the country, it doesn't represent the actual conduct of elections to a large extent. I mean, you know the delegates, constituency executives, you've met them, and so we felt that it was really not going to add to anything if you mount billboards across. And in a way that to keep the city also clean and neat, we decided not to litter the country with the colors of our candidates. And I'm so happy that the candidates have comported themselves, they comply with the directives, and I know they are all ensuring to come out of this conference so united, so powerful for election 2024.
Let's talk finally about security arrangements. As part of the accord you signed with the Peace Council, vigilante groups are not encouraged to be here. So would you say that you're enforcing that strictly ahead of the exercise tomorrow?
In terms of security, we've been in the hands of the police service. We started this our internal elections with the involvement of the Ghana Police Service. We've not departed from it. We've always respected the directives, advice they give. And so, yes, I mean, we're ensuring that security for this conference is mainly in the hands of the Ghana Police Services. And and we've had this discussion with all candidates. So it doesn't really have to do with the peace accord signed some years back, but it mainly has to do with the New Patriotic Party showing the tenets of internal democracy that reflects the proper and the legal framework within which elections are to be conducted. And so in terms of security, we are in the hands of the Ghana Police Service. Our delegates are traveling from all over the country, and the police have assured us of maximum security and protection, so we are looking up to that.
Finally, on the dignitaries to expect tomorrow, are we expecting that the president will be here, and who else is expected to be here as part of the conference tomorrow?
The president is a member of National Council, and so is expected to be here. The vice president, the former president, Mr. J. Kufuor, and when the party talks of National Council, it represents senior most party members, and so they are going to be here. Foundation members, our members who sign our registration form document to the Electoral Commission, are going to be here as delegates. We are seeing to it that our national officers who are all delegates to the conference will be here. External branch members are going to be here with their representatives. Our accredited TESCON institutions are going to be here. And so everybody who is on the list as delegate to the conference is definitely going to be here tomorrow.
Your message to the delegates themselves, I'm sure that you want to ensure that you have a united front going into the 2024 elections. What will be your message to over 6,000 persons who will be filing, casting their ballots tomorrow?
Well, these are senior party members per their positions, and it is an opportunity to be part of this whole process. It is time for them to exercise a very onerous responsibility that will propel the party into more electoral victory. And so the decision is yes, but I hope that the decision they will make will be what will be in the party's interest. All prospective candidates who went through the process and are today wrapping up their campaign are acknowledged and party members of good standing. And so having engaged them over the period, having comported themselves up to this stage, we can only pray for them and hope that this whole process that has been conducted in a more professional manner, in a more transparent and level playing field manner, will produce for us leaders who will help steer the affairs of the party for the next 4 years.
Ultimately, the exercise will lead to the election of the presidential candidate. Are there any modalities for that going, knowing that today or tomorrow may be the end of the road for those who would be national executives of the New Patriotic Party? Beyond that, does your mandate extend to the roadmap towards the election of the presidential candidate?
The national officers, when they assume office, will be part of the National Council that will take the decision on when the party will conduct its parliamentary and presidential elections. We are not there yet, so I'll advise that you hasten slowly. You don't drink the soup around the fufu and wait till we get there.
And that's Evans Namaku for you, Director of Elections for the New Patriotic Party. This is JoyNews, and for those of you who are watching us, this is the Accra Sports Stadium. Just a few meters away from me is the Action Center, where a lot will be happening in less than 24 hours. Over 6,000 delegates of this governing party will cast their ballots to elect national executives tomorrow. We've heard from the Director of Elections and also the Director of Communications for the New Patriotic Party, giving us a clear roadmap towards the exercise tomorrow and beyond. We'll still be here, keep an eye on the grounds, and hear from some delegates as well who will be participating in the exercise tomorrow. But we can tell you as well that there is high level of security here. We're yet to engage the security officials as well to get a sense of what internal mechanisms they'll be putting in place to check the security conditions in the stadium ahead of that exercise. But we have confirmed that President Akufo-Addo himself, as a member of the National Council of the New Patriotic Party, will be here. We're expecting the former President, John Agyekum Kufuor, as well, to also show up. Then we know that obviously the interested parties, I'm talking about the candidates, will also show up in their numbers here. 46 of them contesting for just 10 slots of the governing New Patriotic Party. But who will it be, and who will be the victors or the vanquished at the end of the day. We'll give you all those updates on your favorite channel, JoyNews. Of course, we are your election headquarters. Stay with us on this channel for more updates on the internal elections of the new Patriotic Party. And now more than 50 stalls and houses crashed to debris at Sakaman, Blue Lagoon. According to the residents, the landowners gave them up till August to leave, but on the dawn of July 15, they were forcefully evicted and their properties destroyed. Michael Ashali was there in our reports.
Of May 2022, and then a second date was given them again. So that's the situation here on the stores. But let's talk to the people themselves and find out how really this is possible. How did this happen? I'll speak to some of them who have receipts to the effect of the agreement with the landlords. They tell me that the original landlord is deceased now, so the children of the landlords are the ones responsible for what we are seeing now. Here, let me speak to this lady who's really looks traumatized. She has a child with her. How did this happen? What time did it happen?
Hey, Akos. I'm in Casa. This happened when it happened at this dawn, around 5 a.m. thereabouts. Because I stayed around and I was there that somebody gave me a call that they have bring excavators and things here that they are coming to demolish our containers. So when I came, it was true. As you can see, everything is destroyed. And a certain man came, called us that they have given us 3 months. So we should pay 150 cedis so that we can stay for 3 months. Then after the 3 months, we can move. But today we weren't aware of that demolition that they came to do here. So this is what has happened to us. Right now, we are stranded. We don't know how to do right now.
But this is not the initial landlord that you were dealing with. How long have you stayed here though?
For me, I've stayed here for 3 years.
Okay. And in that 3 years, were you dealing with the same gentleman or family member?
No, I weren't.
So who were you initially dealing with?
That man, he gave this place to me. He's an agent who have been renting places for people. So
what's wrong with the audio? Okay. So that's one of the people here who is affected by the demolition exercise here. So I mean, really, what happens to you and your family now?
Oh, for me, I don't stay here. We have some people who stay inside there. But me, my shop is here. So it's my shop that everything has been destroyed.
What was inside your shop? What were you doing here?
I was selling rice and things, oil, tin, tomatoes and things. So everything has been destroyed right now. Because I don't sleep here. So I weren't here. If I were here, I would remove everything out. So far as I weren't here, when I came, everything had been destroyed.
But let me ask again, is it the same person who signed these receipts that led the demolition exercise?
No.
You are dealing with different family members?
Yes.
They are all the same one family.
Okay, so are you one of the affected people?
Okay. They are all the same one family. Are you getting it?
Okay.
They are one family. Are you getting it?
Okay.
So there is one of their brother called Atewa collecting money from we. Are you getting the point? So whether he's aware or he doesn't aware, that one we don't know. They just came this morning, demolished everybody. You can see it yourself.
What did you have here?
There's a lot of valuables. I live here with my family, as you can see. Wow. There's a lot of TV. My distance there, my TV is there, my wardrobe is there, my bed, VCD is there, my tape is there. There's a lot of things. Gas, fridge. Come on, what am I going to mention? I'm even at work before my wife called me. I'm not even in the house. She just called me that I work at the airport side. Before she called me that there's problem going on in the house. Before I rush come, I'm even shocked.
Did you also pay the money that you asked to pay 3 months?
Yeah, for free. We paid. I'm a family man. How can I live here for free? Is it for my fatherland? Is it for my father? It's not for my father. I paid. This is the question you're asking. We are paid. We are not living here for free. This is not a government land. This is you should understand what I mean. Yeah. Come on. I'm
really, it's a very traumatized father here who tells me that he was not also in the know like many other people here who are traumatized by the situation. They would have wished that probably given due notice But the challenge they've been mentioning also is dealing with different family members at different times. Let me go back to him and ask him. Now, he's talking about having to be owed by the said landlords, the siblings of the original landlord here. I mean, why do you say they owe you?
They owe me a whole lot of people. 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 1,005, plenty.
For what exactly?
For 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. There's even a certain man who just came here. Just within his, I'm sure definitely they are owing them. He just renovated the place before he parking. Almost for 5,000 cities. They are owing me about almost 2,000 cities. Wow. So if I have gotten that one, wouldn't I relocate? And we agree already that they are going to come December. They said December. Is this December? They said December. That is our agreement. To God who made me. Is this December? What is that? How can things be done like that? We had an agreement, but you just came unexpectedly. This doesn't done in that way.
It must be very difficult for you right now.
I'm just confused. I'm helpless. I'm confused right now. I don't know what to do now, as you can see. My family are there under the sun. So I have to think of something just to make sure my secure don't face. Because to go to workshop right now, I don't know whether I will go or not, because I've called my colleagues at the workshop and I can't come to airport today. So I'm just helpless now, confused. That is it.
So do you have an option? Do you know where you're going to go?
Right now, I don't know where to go, but if I get money, I can try to relocate to another place, that's all.
Have you tried to reach out to the landlord? You tell me that they owe you.
Switch off. We are heading in trying to call him now, switch off. It's not going. So who are you going to hold?
A very difficult situation for them, yeah. So hundreds of families here rendered homeless overnight, still trying to find their feet, some of them still scavenging for their items. So we'll take you into the main yard where majority of the structures were destroyed here. So he's leading me inside the edifice. As you can see some more writings from the AMA and some families trying to get as many items that are not destroyed out of the destruction. And so, number more, what did you have here?
Oh, yeah, helpers. Omo ya two omo no. And ya bo omo asesa omo niama. Oh, if it's a mobo, so what wo. Oh, say you wo baby kwa na say we need baby ko. Oh, ya flame sky. Me was akama. So wo baby kwa na say we need baby ko no. Na wo ho one day e mu say ya wo dia de. But ene beje medan. Aya chen say wo de buffaloes baba be to me medan nyina just one day. It is lamp for no say omoma emla ndi bi wo ha enya adwuma. Because
Sky, me that's a pan. So let's get closer to the action here. You can
wow, you can see it yourself.
So we are currently in one of the homes. I believe this house, lots of people, you can see lots of doors to your left and right, and looks as if everyone managed to leave here.
And that was my colleague Michael Papaniashale with that report. But guess what? The Department of Communication Studies, University of Ghana, is 50 years, and there's a lot of exciting activities happening in the coming days, which you need to know about. Joining me in studio now is Dr. Abena Yebuabeni, Head of Department for the Communications Studies Department, University of Ghana, Legon, and she's also the convener of the 50th Anniversary Planning Committee. John Appiah is also part of that committee and an alumni of that very department. So it's good to have you, gentlemen and lady, join us in studio. Let me start off with you, because you've had a great time in school, I believe. Yes. How was it like, just recounting your period in school?
For me, it was a very exciting period for me. You know, at that time, it was a very intensive course, very demanding course, but we were able to go through by the grace of God. And it will interest you to know that at that point, Dr. Abena here was my lecturer.
Ah, interesting.
Yes, and I think that the foundation I had in the department has contributed significantly to my career. The first place I worked after the school was Joy FM, so I'm a family of the Joy family, yes. And I think that that experience and exposure I had at the school has really made a great impact on my career.
How has it been for you, I mean, looking back over the years in terms of the training you've had, and what would you say to prospective students as well?
I will encourage them to find their way or make their way into the School of Department of Communication Studies. It was a rigorous process at that time because you had to go through an aptitude test and then you go through an interview and finally you are selected.
Oh, it wasn't that simple.
No, at all. But the point was that the moment you gain entry in the faculty are really good people, very gifted, talented, they know their stuff very well, and the kind of experience they take you through, the knowledge they share with you is absolutely important in helping you, especially if you have a future in the career industry. I think that in the communications industry, you need to take a look at this.
So let's hear from Doc as well. When we talk about the Communication Studies Department, a lot of people do not know why it was established in the first place. Are you able to give us some education on that?
Oh, yes. We started off in 1972, and that's why we're celebrating 50 years now. The reason for setting up then it was an institute, now we're a department. But the reason was basically to help train professionals to serve the media and communication industries in the country, and also to conduct research, produce knowledge that guides the training of these professionals.
And one would say, well, it's part of your duty. You've been training people, so why celebrate an anniversary anyway?
Oh, we think we have more than enough reason to celebrate. We produce John.
That's enough.
Within the 50 years, we've really acquitted ourselves well, we think. We've produced very high caliber communication professionals for this country, including our highest of them all, former President John Dramani Mahama. Oh. You mentioned the Kweku Sechiados, the Dr. Spio Gabres, the Nana Komias, the Mustafa Hamid. I'm telling you.
So there's a lot.
If I had to give you the list, we wouldn't leave here today. But that's not all we've managed to do for this country. Our faculty have been very actively producing knowledge. They wade into public discourses. We join national committees and other activities to contribute to the country. We think that we have more than enough reason to celebrate because of the kinds of quality professionals that we've used the last 50 years to produce for the country, but also because of the influence we've had by way of the knowledge that we produce and its impact on the Ghanaian, on Ghana.
Right. But John, help us understand the aim of the celebration this year. What are you focusing on?
Right. So let me talk about the theme, which is very important, and I would like to read it directly for you so that I don't miss a single word in there. So 50 years of excellence in communication, scholarship, and training, reimagining the field in a digital era. All right. And it's important to know that we are not just producing journalists, but it cuts across the spectrum in the communication career. All right. So we are looking at how we can adapt. You know, things are changing. Technology has come to help us and all that. So our key focus is to look at how we can pool all the resources together and ensure that we don't leave communication in the past, but how we can utilize the power of media, technology, and all that to improve whatever it is that we are doing. So whether it's in journalism, public relations, advertising, there is something in there that will help you be a better person.
But Doc, what's inspired this theme that we're looking at as part of the 50th anniversary of the department?
Two things. First, we want to recognize our legacy and celebrate it. And so that takes care of the 50 years of excellence in communication, scholarship, and training. But at the same time also, we realize that the space within which we must do the next 50 years of that excellence has changed. The digital has come. It has revised how we work in communication. It has even revised a script for doing media and communications work. And so we think that trainers of communication professionals must take cognizance of these changes that are occurring and begin to inculcate them in the training that we're giving the next generation of professionals.
If at the time John was in school, you were the lecturer, I'm just wondering how many people you've trained so far at the department.
Well, when John came, I had just started my career at the department as an assistant lecturer at the time. So I'm not that old, if that's what you're trying to say.
But anyway, do we have a sense of the number of people who've been trained through the department?
Well, we are not a very big unit. Small is beautiful sometimes, and so we don't have a very large class size. But over the past 50 years, our number inches over 1,000 people. So it's also not that small a constituency of people that have passed through our home.
So, John, run us through some of the activities we're expecting. Okay. Is it just the launch of the anniversary, or there are a number of activities likely to happen?
So the launch actually starts the whole thing for us, and for us it's very significant. You know, so on the 20th of July 2022, we'll do our anniversary launch, and we are very honored to have His Excellency the former President of the Republic of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, as our guest of honor for that occasion. The Minister of Information, Honorable Kojo Nkrumah, will be there. The Vice Chancellor will be there, and of course, the Head of Department will also be there as well. So that will begin the series of engagement, which will be a year-long engagement. So after that, we'll do a lot of thought leadership, you know, focused conversations, because we think that there should be a bridge between the industry and academia. So one of the things we seek to do through this thought leadership thing is to ensure that we're able to bring the knowledge from the classroom to the industry and see how best we can improve the way we do things. And then also there will be the launch of the State of the Ghana Media Report, which is a very significant thing for us people in the communications industry, because, you know, we need to understand what the state of the Ghanaian media is, so that whether there are issues we need to attack and solve and all that, we'll look at ways to do that. And then there will be a homecoming, which will bring all of us together again.
But how about motivating the younger ones to also come into the department?
Yes.
Do you have any programs?
Yes, we have a program that is centered around inspiring other people, young people, to come. And one of the things we're telling practitioners is that you may not have come to the Department of Communication Studies, but that is not all. You can still come. You know, because there are people that, I tell people that in the media, people may be gifted and talented, they can speak well, have a nice appeal on camera, but may not necessarily have the ethics and, you know, the tenets of journalism and all that. This is a good opportunity for even those who are in the industry to come back into the school to be able to acquire knowledge and know how to do things. Because there's a lot of talk about the fact that the level of journalism is going down and all those other things. We as a department, we are concerned. And one of the things we can do, and Doc may talk more about it, we're trying to implement some short courses that will allow practitioners who don't have time to actually come to the school and pick up some of these principles and knowledge and work with it. Then we can sanitize the media space and the communication space.
So let's hear from Doc on that.
Yeah.
The long-term vision and what we're to see in the coming years.
The long-term vision is to grow. I said that small is beautiful, and we stand by it. Right. But also, we see, as he said, there's some challenges that we think that the quality we represent, if it were a bit more accessible to people, it may change the face of the industry a bit more. And so we are introducing new programs, some of them even flexible, so that if you can't take time off work and come to school 8 to 5, it is possible for you to do it during the weekends and evenings, etc. And we also have a number of short courses. I mean, look at the local language media scene. It is huge. And curriculum and training isn't really addressing that space. So short courses that help prepare people who are already in industry, improve their skills to be able to do the work better in a manner that serves all of our interests is what we're looking at in the long term.
John, I'll give you the final words on this.
Yeah, so we would want to say a big thank you to all our partners and all the people we've been engaging with over the past 50 years. It's a call to all our alumni to come back to the department. Let's look at how we can plan for the future. And I remember during my time, we're just about 20 in the class, but now it's expanded. You know, so we're looking at ways we can expand that space to be able to take more people. And we encourage practitioners, PR practitioners, those in the media, those in the news, technology space and all that, to look at adding to the knowledge they have to really improve what it is they bring to the table.
Small is indeed beautiful. I'll keep that with me. I'm grateful, gentlemen and lady, for joining us. And that's all we have for you here on The Pulse. My name is Blessed Sogah. Log on to myjoyonline.com. We have updates there for you.